Hi, Zach. Thank you for coming on to the Everyday Mystic.
Hi, Corissa. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk about the work that you've really embraced. You were invited into this work, and it's become a sacred calling for you, it sounds like, to share and spread the power of gold through your work to your clients and through the world in all the ways that you do. So I'm excited to talk about that, which we're going to get to. But I want to know, and I know the audience will be curious to know how you got here, because we aren't usually born straight into from our birth into our sacred calling right away. It's often a stumble, step, fall, pick ourselves back up. Something maybe tragic happens to where we awaken to this calling. Do you relate to that? What happened in your life that led you to this opening?
God, I'm old. This is going to take a while.
Okay. Well,
How long do we have?
we'll take the summarized version, and then I know people can read more about it in your book and in your on your website.
Okay, that's what I'm going to try to do. I was born in Paris, but I grew up in the south of France. And my parents were in the militaries. So I had a stepdad real quick that was in the militaries. My dad was a businessman in real estate and he would raise horses. It was his passion. So I had those two examples growing up with my mom and my stepdad in the militaries where we would count everything, where they would tell me, for example, toothpaste, you've been using too much toothpaste this month. You got to slow down. What are you doing with tooth? Are you brushing your teeth 10 times a day or what? So everything was very, like very, very minimalist, let's say. And then on the other side, I would see my dad that I would keep visiting and he would keep, seeing me. And I would see him like living his life, living his dream, living his vision, and his dream and his passion were horses. He loved horses and he raised horses, made a lot of money in real estate in Paris, and he bought a ranch. Well, I don't know how many acres, 50 acres. I don't know. It was huge. And he lived his passion really. And I remember that he really taught me not by the words because he never told me, but he taught me by showing me the way of like, live your passion. And then I became an actor the first thing I really wanted to do, I was able to really do something by myself to make it short. It was like 32, 33. I became an actor in France and it was working, pretty well for myself. I was doing really well. And let's say 7, 8 years later, I decided to come to the United States to pursue the dream because of Hollywood. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to Hollywood, now that I've done and I've seen it, I've done pretty good for myself. I want to try Hollywood. And then in Hollywood, it was a complete different ball game because of the competition and my accent also. That this is Americans as it gets. So obviously, I was not the perfect accent. So I would play the foreigners, the French, the German, the Russian. On top of that, I don't look French. So when they were looking for a French, I would show up, and I'm 6'2", and I don't look at all like a French person that is more like 5'9" and like Latin look. So that didn't help. And then I became a photographer. I mean, I've been a photographer for a long time. I started in Morocco in 2000. I took my mom to Morocco before to leave to United States. My mom was Miss Morocco, very beautiful,
Mm.
in 1954, right? And so I took her there as a token, and also because I was living here. I was about to move here, and I did move. And in Morocco, I studied serious photography because it's very, very beautiful to shoot there. So I became a photographer, and I loved it. And I got married the first time, and I wanted to do nude. I wanted to do nude, but I didn't know why. And everything has been done in nude, really. And my first wife was like, "No way, Jose, you're not doing nude. This is not happening. Relax, sit, watch the TV, and you'll be okay." And the truth of the matter is, like, I didn't know why I wanted to do that. Later on, I divorced 4 years later, not for that reason, but we divorced. And then I still had this idea that I wanted to shoot people in gold. And it was in the backbone of my mind. And then I still didn't know why. I didn't look. And then you need to find the models. I didn't know anything. Where do you find people that do that? And then years go by, another years go by. And then I had this house one day in Woodland Hills. And the living room was dark in the afternoon. And I have this friend that is an interior designer that said, if you want, I can put a gold wall with gold leaves on the wall and it would bring a lot of light. So I did it, and it was a little tacky, I have to say, but I think I liked it. And then I immediately clicked. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint gold. I'm going to paint people in gold on this gold background and see where that goes. And I do my first shoot. I find a model on Instagram, a lady, and she's like, yeah, that's what I do, no problem. This is my rate. I'm like, okay. So I got this woman, I got my makeup artist. The shoot is a complete disaster. I have no idea what I'm doing. I cannot connect with her like on the spiritual aspect, on an artistic aspect. She's here to do her work. She's here to be told what to do. And I didn't know how to guide her because my vision was not defined. It was not clear yet. And the shoot is a disaster, complete disaster. But she leaves like 2 hours later. And I'm looking at those pictures on my computer. I'm like, oh my God, what did I even think about like shooting people nude or in gold, or it make no sense at all. And a week later, the white rabbit for Matrix, follow the white rabbit. I am at the interior designer expo here in Santa Monica. I think it's one of the best, the biggest in the country. And I'm talking to someone at the bar. It's really hot. I remember I'm drinking like an iced tea. And we talk, and after 20 minutes, this guy tells me, what do you do? And I don't know why. I said, I'm the gold photographer. I shoot people in gold. And he's like, wow, that's cool. Do you have sample of your work? And I'm like, yeah. And I had a few pictures of that girl. That was a complete disaster. So first of all, on the pictures, I chopped her head, cropped it just on her body, and I tweaked it a little bit, on like Photoshop and stuff. And they look okay, but I didn't like what I did at all. And he's like, wow, you shot that? He was like blown away. I'm like, yeah. Do you have those prints? Did you print it out? And no. Well, can you stay here? You need to talk to my boyfriend because he's currently redesigning a wine cellar in Beverly Hills, and it's all blue and gold. And that's what we need. And this is so elegant. This is so pure. This is so clean because when you do nude, obviously it has to be like extremely elegant and sharp and clean and beautiful. I'm like, sure. And then next thing you know, I have 46 by 72 inches pictures framed in my pictures framed in the wine cellar of that shoot. That was a disaster. And I guess, they were not that bad at the end because they took it and they loved it. And it was a big hit actually. So from that, I kept going. When I got better at it, I got better at it. And I was able to really get into more like a spiritual vibe of pictures and really connect with like mostly dancers and yogi that have maybe a little more to express with their bodies. It's more fluid, it's more interesting for me. And then I kept going because it was cool. For 5-6 years, I ended up by doing pictures you see behind me, these kind of things, very zen, meditation, relaxing, very simple. And one day I had a near-death experience that changed everything. So I died, and I never liked the term near-death experience because you don't feel like you near die. You actually die.
Yeah.
And you come back, but you don't near die, So I don't know where that term is, where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And then I met with the big guy upstairs that told me, you're not done yet. We're going to send you back. And your mission in life, because I was looking for my mission. At the time, I started to do ayahuasca and I went in the jungle to do plant medicine. And your mission in life is to paint people in gold so they can awaken to their divine self. So you're not done yet. We're sending you back. And it was just like that. And then that got me really confused. It was a great encounter. It was a great experience. But I am a Gemini rising Virgo, so I'm double Mercury. So I need to understand at this level too. And that was my problem, is that was an incredible encounter to recover from it too, which took no time, which was interesting. I mean, physiologically and physically, I was immediately back in my body. But then I had to understand. So I started to study and I started to research and I started to do more plant medicine to connect. I connected more with God again, with Jesus again, with different ascended masters. I had connections with the Pleiadians also. Pleiadians use gold to open portals. So it's a very pure metal. And then I research, and I found out that basically only Westerners use gold for its material value. All we know is that 1 ounce of gold is $2,800, yeah, give or take. But that's all we know. We buy gold because there's a war, or like we want to be safe. It's like, oh, it's a safe investment, and then you sell it, or most of the time you don't sell it. When you can, you keep it. That's all we know about gold. And then I discovered that ancient civilizations, even currently Buddhism or Hinduism, they have a completely different perspective on gold.
And it makes sense that they would, or that it does have an inherent value, because how did it get value in the first place? Right? If it didn't have an inherent value of being a powerful metal for uses by these ancient civilizations, then I don't know if it would ever have gotten that monetary value that we associate with it. So it makes sense that it has all of this. So what did you learn in your studies then of gold, the value that it held, the uses that it had in these ancient civilizations, or in current use in whether religious ceremonies or other ceremonies in general?
Yeah, so the one of the most interesting thing is, like, number one, 1 ounce of gold can be stretched into a 50-mile long wire without losing its conductivity, or beaten into a leaf just 2 millionth of a centimeter thick, which is way, way, way thinner than a cigarette paper, and still keep its conductivity. So it's an incredible, powerful tool to use for connection, because the metal is really pure for electricity and connectivity. Gold actually originates from the depth of space, not from Earth. And it's formed during supernova explosions billions of years ago, and it became embedded in the planet's crust over geological timescales through meteorite bombardments. So now we can say that gold comes from deep within Earth, but while yet, like I always said, and now we know why, reflecting the color of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So a supernova explosion is just a star in the sky that outgrow itself and becomes so powerful and so big that it explodes. And when it explodes with its own energy, it releases a different kind of metals and irons, and gold is part of it. So we can find it in Earth. And so what I find out is that in Mesopotamia, for example, so Mesopotamia, we're talking 3,500 to 500 BC, right? Long time ago, 5,000 years ago. Mesopotamia was a region. It's currently Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Syria, and Kuwait. And it's the cradle of civilization. So I started to study the cradle of civilization. So I looked at Mesopotamia, looked at Egypt, then I looked at Mesoamerica, which is Aztec, Toltec, Olmecs, Zapotecs, also the Incas. This comes much later. They come around the 15th century. And then Buddhism and Hinduism. So 3,500 BC, Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. Why? Because they are credited for, number one, the invention of the wheel, which is a big deal, because the invention of the wheel, I mean, can you imagine somebody walk up one day and say, hey, how about we make something round out of that chunk of wood or stone or whatever that is? And if we make two of the same diameter, we can get a cart going. This is a revolution.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know today we have iPhones, and we're going on Mars with Elon Musk and all that stuff. It looks, like, who cares about the wheel? But I do, because I think it's really incredible back then what they used to do. So the invention of the wheel, the time also, they were able to organize a society because of the time. So they created the first solar watch, and they were able to tell people, okay, you show up at 9, you leave at 5, organize society. Then the cuneiform is the very first form of writing. It's also credited to Mesopotamians, 400 years before the Egyptians that came up with the hieroglyph much later. They created mathematics, astronomy. So very advanced civilizations. And the Sumerians and the Akkadians that dominated Mesopotamia from nearly 3,100 BC to the entire time period, they revered gold as a spiritual tool, as an ascending tool. And for them, it was really a material imbued with divine energy, believed to connect directly to the gods. So they would use gold for offerings, and in exchange for, like, divine protection and spiritual ascension. And so they had their sun god, Shamash, also known as Utu, the sun god of truth and justice. And they would connect through God, through gold with him directly. They would also identify gold with the sun. So that's another discovery that I did, is that they always connect, all those civilizations always connect gold with the gods, or they have the sun god, like the Incas, they have Inti, Egyptians, they had Ra, obviously the sun god, and Mesopotamians, they had Shamash. So they have God. The gold is on earth, let's say, okay, because gold is the only tangible thing we have on earth is gold. It's like having a little piece of God for them, to make it simple. And then here you have in the sky, somewhere here in the universe, you have God. And here on the other side, you have the sun. So the sun, you can sun gaze, you can look at the sun, you can enjoy the sun at daytime until, sundown. But the sun is not really here on earth, right? Even though you can see it. So think of it like a pie of cheesecake, or whatever is your favorite pie. They all connect you to gold, the tangible material, the tangible equivalent that is on earth, where my hands touch. Like, this is earth, okay? And then you have God's here, and then you have the sun here, and then this is how you step into that triangle. That's how you get that cheesecake, that piece of cheesecake for yourself, by using gold that is on earth, that is a really tangible asset, material, whatever you want to name it, at your disposition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. And so the Mesopotamians, they use gold also to bury their deceased, because they would think that with this you would be equipped in the afterlife. It's the same idea, and they would look at gold like something absolutely, really, like, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
In Egypt, same time period, roughly 3100 to 30 BC, gold is known as the flesh of the gods. So technically, if you have a little gold medal, or the old gold chain or something like that, congratulations, because you are wearing the flesh of the god, whoever God is for you,
Mm-hmm.
according to ancient Egypt. So it's very interesting. So of course it was connected to the sun Ra, but not only, because it was a key component in both religious and royal practices. And gold literally for them came from the sun. So there was no doubt. For them, it was very clear. In Egypt, gold came from the sun. And pharaohs were not just rulers, they were living gods. And when they died, their bodies were adorned in gold to ensure their immortality in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be buried, encased with gold, a lot of gold. That gold, of course, would last forever, as they believed they would themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, and because the most famous example of this is the burying of Tutankhamun. It's a dazzling symbol of protection for the king's journey in the afterlife, because he was buried with 1 ton of gold, which is pure gold, which is the weight of a Mini Cooper, which is exactly 2,300 pounds. And for them, it was really a symbol of, like, divinity, protection, and they would eat gold. Egyptians would eat gold, and they would have, like, alchemists in Alexandria that would make elixirs based out of liquid gold
Mm-hmm.
to cure disease, to rejuvenate the body, to strengthen your life force, and for all kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And to them, it was really, really the symbol of the connection with the gods as well. And also, they would also eat gold in order to get closer to their god and to their gods, and for divine protection, and for also spiritual ascension, always.
This gives a whole new definition of the word precious gold when people use that term, again, tied to a monetary value. But now we're talking about how truly precious this is, not just symbolically, but also as its own energetic form. To me, it doesn't seem like a symbolic representation like it truly is, as the Egyptians may have thought, the flesh of the gods coming from the supernova explosion. So knowing that is really interesting, that we've got actually a piece of a dying star, which is a sun,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
here on Earth.
How
And
beautiful.
suns and gods have always been connected. We could even say it's synonymous, that our sun is God in the sense that it gives us life here in so many ways. And so that connection is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing all the history and the research that you've done. So now in your own life, I know that you obviously paint people in gold, as you mentioned. Do you use some of these other practices that were used back in those times of either ingesting gold or other types of ceremony with gold?
As a matter of fact, think right here. And this is an absolute coincidence, honestly. I used this. This is almost, and this is gold, liquid gold.
Wow.
So you can ingest 24K real, 24K gold, oil, and yeah, I use that. I use that every day. First thing when I wake up in the morning, and I also do like a lot of gold meditation. So I'm also a transformational breathwork coach, and I do sessions on Zoom. And once people are in theta brainwave mode, so you get off your body slowly and you get yourself instead of hypnosis, and then we have access to the body, which is a subconscious mind where all the blocked energies, all the traumas, everything we've been through, negative experience in life has stored. Everything is here. So we access this. And then with the gold, I do like a gold meditation, a pure, 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 pure gold, the purest gold you can possibly imagine. And I lead people into a meditation in order to release. Release could be the fires in California 2 months ago, could be just the pandemic, could be the lockdown, could be a divorce, could be a bankruptcy, could be something happened when you were 5, 10, 15. I'm specialized into the 5 traumas, which are betrayal, humiliation, abandonment, injustice, and rejection. We all suffer at least from 3 out of those 5. So gold really help cleansing and cleaning. And if you go in India, for example, fun fact, the temples are covered in gold, not to show opulence, but to attract divine energy, to purify the soul and to attract enlightenment. So to them, it's really an enlightenment tool, and that's how it's used. And if you look at the Vedas, for example, so the Vedas is the equivalent of the Bible. It's 5 times, 4.5 times the Bible. So wide, large literature with the Rig Veda, with the Upanishads, and even the epic texts of Mahabharata or Ramayana. Gold is permanently featured as a material, both material and spiritual ascensional tool all the time. And in the Rig Veda, so the Rig Veda are the hymns, the chant. So in Hinduism, they have 1,028 chants divided in 10 different books. So it's a wide, large literature. And they have this notion of Hiranyagarbha. And Hiranyagarbha in Sanskrit means the golden egg or the golden womb, which is described in the ancient text as the divine golden matrix from where everything originates. From this divine golden matrix. So for them, for Vedic sages, everything begins in gold and everything ends in gold. And you are pure gold. So that's also something when I discovered like Hinduism, the use they have of gold, I really understood the message I had during my near-death experience. Because I really connected with the gold, coming back from the gold, going back to gold. And for them, gold is literally the light of knowledge and the purity of the soul. That's how gold is. And honestly, I've done enough plant ceremony and plenty of trips, and I can tell you that the pure soul, like I'm talking about ascended master level soul, is pure gold. A lot of people think the last layer is white, white, white. It's true if you stop at the white. Right above the white, there's gold. Yeah.
This has really changed my perspective on all of the temples and gold Buddha statues and things that I've seen in Asia.
Yep.
I mean, it really, you look at it through that opulent lens, as you were saying, oh, this is the show of our wealth and our power. But I've always felt connected to those structures and revered them for their beauty, but I didn't have this context. And now this has completely changed the past for me and all of those experiences I've had with those structures. So thank you for sharing that. The work that you're doing to awaken the divine within and to allow people to connect to their own divinity through gold. These invitations that you offer to people, are they coming in to the session knowing that this is going to be the transmission and the process? They know enough about you and your work to know that they're going to go through a transformation? Or is it that you're shooting people and then, this sort of happens as you wield some power or some transmission through them?
There is both. I have people coming to me because of the aesthetic part of it, and they like the look of it. And I have people that we have this conversation because then it's a different kind of session. Do you want to go through a transformational experience where you awaken to your divine self? Because this is not just only painting you in gold, it's using transformational breath work and how we can work on those blocked energies and traumas and eventual addiction, stuff like that. And then we also do this through sound bowls. So we have a sound bowl session in it, really to awaken your senses. And so I can connect with the divine, the pure divine part of you that is, in your heart, and then make sure your heart flows like a river and you're able to get out of your mind where you have your neighbors, your rent, your job, your parents, your connection with your kids, with what your boss told you. Get out of all of that noise. And in my book, I actually explain how to get out of the monkey mind to access the monk mind. So it's a complete different practice. It's a more spiritual session where when we paint you in gold, it's really to reveal the golden Buddha that lies into your heart and has been willing to get out for a long time. I also have like Buddhist people because in Buddhism, gold is the pinnacle of spiritual aspiration and the act of dedicating material wealth to pursue spiritual enlightenment. So to them, it's really the next level. In Hinduism, I would say it's 50-50. Gold is a material value and a spiritual tool. 50-50, but in Buddhism, there is no material value at all. It's 100% a spiritual ascensional tool. So it's really, for them, it's a really, really important thing. For them, it represents like respect, devotion, reverence.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have these kind of clients that really want to connect, like doing a retreat for several months in an ashram, or like that's the completely different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, much deeper, certainly. Is there anything you can offer to the audience who may not either be in your geographical area to come get painted by you, or that may want to just at home start to work with gold? Is there anything you can offer to them? Maybe it comes
Yeah.
from your book, or some tips you can share right now of how they can start working with gold?
Yeah, for sure. Gold meditation. When you do your meditation in the morning, gold gets rid of the mold. And this is very, the most simple things sometimes are the things that we don't do, but it's the truth. Gold get rid of the mold, meaning the mold is the shadow that we can have within us. And so it's very powerful to meditate and visualize gold, pure gold, coming from the sky, visualize that beam of gold penetrating your seventh chakra and from the crown and visiting every chakra, enlightening every chakra, reviving all your cells and refreshing all your system using meditation, using gold. That's what I recommend people to do because it's very, very powerful. So for people that cannot travel and be in California, I do a Zoom breathwork session once a month, and it's donation based. So you can just hop on and you watch a little video that I explain, basically 15-20 minutes how the session is going to take place, what you're going to have to do, and then you just go with the flow, and I'll take you there. I'll take you there through your breath, and then once you're in theta brainwave mode, we can access different level of consciousness, and then we can repair a lot with gold. Gold is an amazing tool for repair. That's what I recommend doing.
I recently met somebody who came to my place to buy something from me, and he had these incredible gold rings and this gold chain that were the thickest gold I've ever seen on somebody just in my presence. And they were so buttery and bright and beautiful. So we ended up having a conversation around the gold. Like, it's hard not to notice it. You might not
Uh-huh.
notice it if you're just a walking by this person. It
Yeah.
wasn't like bling, bling, bling. They kind of pulled you in spiritually. My husband actually was the one who asked him about it. He's like, what's the story about of those? Those are powerful. And he is a guy who used to work in gold. So he used to be a jeweler. He's now, a homesteader, a goat farmer, really interesting dude. But he used to work in New York City, used to travel around the world and work in the gold industry. So he had these pieces that he had melted down and created for himself. And I said, the color is so interesting. And he said, yeah, these are all 24 karat gold. He's like, but a lot of people think that the most expensive gold is the shiny, blingy kind of gold. And he's like, it isn't. The purest gold is actually this duller, more like buttery was the word that came to me. And it was so interesting to me, even that distance that so many people have have the impression of what gold is as being monetarily valuable would then have that vision of what the most expensive gold is as this shiny, blingy stuff, when that's actually not
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. The Incas that built the Machu Picchu, it was in the 15th century, and the eighth, so they had like a bunch of like emperor. The eighth emperor Pachacuti was credited for building the Machu Picchu, and then in 1531 they got all wiped out by the Spanish, the conquistadors that came and stole the gold from them and killed that civilization that slowly, went down to zero or not much. But the problem is like that gold, they before to take it to the crown of Spain, so early 16th century, we're talking 1532, 1333, melted it into bars like that to ship it because it took less, space in the ship. And then the thing is, we don't have those beautiful Incas, jewelry that they used to make anymore because 90% of it got melted and to ship it to the crown of Spain. And now you have a few museums, the museum of gold in Cusco, so in Peru, in Colombia, in Bogota, in the old Bogota, and in London. But it's very hard to see those beautiful pieces that they created because they created all kind of jewelry, vases, cups, specifically cups that they used for offerings
Mm.
to their god, the god Inti. So they had like several, I think, 18 emperors over the course of 100 years. Huge empire, the Inca Empire. They were often, very often decked out in gold to show their connection to Inti, the sun god. It's always the same thing. So maybe this person you described was very connected to whatever god is, referring to, maybe the universe. So it's very interesting.
It is.
And if you look at the even the Aztecs, or the Aztec, the Toltecs, the Olmecs, the lesser known Olmecs. The Olmecs are the one that built the several tones, 10 feet high stone head. We don't know how it volcano out of volcano. We don't know. They didn't have any volcanoes in the areas. They didn't have the way to transport it. We don't know how they did it. Machu Picchu, same thing. It's a mystery. Machu Picchu, also built by the Incas. It's 7,000 feet high, 300 buildings, and today they still stand straight, perfectly straight, and they had no iron to cut the stones. They had copper, but copper is a very soft metal. So they had like rivers all over, like fountains. The engineering system for the watering was just incredible. On top of a mountain, they built that city. We don't know how they did it. So that's why I like to talk about those examples, the Incas or the Egyptians, obviously, the mystery of the pyramids. We have a lot of theories out there, but we don't know for sure how they made it. And so those are not castle in the skies. I tell people, those people, they knew what they were doing. They were very advanced civilizations. That's why I look at them like their use of gold. What did they used to do with gold?
Well, yeah, knowing about the conductivity and then thinking about how we could have harnessed energy in the past and harnessed energy through these structures, even, and them being potentially power centers, being able to power an entire civilization. That to me is really an interesting connection with gold. Was it a conductor? You know, you see those copper wires used in gardens, and the copper is a great conductor too, obviously, and brings energy into the soil from the sun. I would imagine gold would do an incredible job at that, to then be
Well,
able to
definitely.
potentially power a machine that we don't even know about, that we can't even conceive of, that maybe existed to then help build these things that seem so impossible.
Exactly. That's probably what they used back then to get to move those stones and power that energy, for the pyramids, all those huge pieces of stones. They were really able to channel and manipulate and use this energy. Definitely. And I also think that this in golden age, golden era in which we are stepping now, it's gonna come back, hundredfold for people that can use the gold meditation. Put your mind on gold. It would be like keep your eyes on the prize, basically, because I can tell you that that prize is gold for tomorrow and after tomorrow. I am absolutely 100% sure of this. That people that can really connect with the purity of that material can go like a long way in their life, in spirituality, but also in their personal life, in their material life, in their professional life, in their relationship. When you see the gold in the heart of your partner, it takes you also a long way, obviously. And you're aware of like the QHHT sessions, Dolores Cannon, the late Dolores Cannon, QHHT session. She was doing like hypnosis regression, and she had clients describing they were working in Egypt and they were wearing gold. They were putting gold in their session, gold bracelet, gold belt, gold, like here around the head. And with that gold, they had a superpower to move objects. And it was described by several people that don't know each other. And Doris Cannon, she wrote like, her daughter now, a lot of books are being, written about all the experiences she had with those clients, describing how they use gold also in Atlantis, not so much in Lemuria, but in Atlantis, it was like a current, metal to use for all the advanced technology that they had. So I think we're coming back to this now, but without because Atlantis apparently it was in the south of Spain and north of Morocco in this era. They were very, very well versed in terms of high technology, and they had high potential of gold and those energies and how to manipulate and come up with some incredible technology. But greed is what destroyed Atlantis. So now what I'm thinking is that we are going back to this without the greed and with the power of love, with the power of light, and with the desire in this 5D to really help each other. And the idea is like, I don't sit down for dinner if I know someone has no food. I don't go to bed if I know someone has no shelter. Who knows? But hopefully that's the direction we're going. I'm hoping. And so I think gold used in the correct way, it's going to help us ascend and connect and develop some technology that's going to help us. In the Torah, I was just thinking about that when you were talking about this person that came to your house to buy something from you. In the Torah, there is a very interesting chapter about gold, and I really relate to that because they said that gold is. I don't remember the exact sentence, but basically, gold will try you because you have the power. Gold is expensive. Okay, gold is a material value. All right, so you can either get it from that reason without being spiritual, or you can be a spiritual person and use it, and gold will play in your advantage. Gold will help you. Versus gold can also take you down if you use it as a material value to show off or to show your worth, your material worth. So, yeah, there's a comparison like that is very beautiful, very interesting, and I won't be able to quote it, but this is also something. This is something real, and it's what you said. Like when I was talking about like India, and you said, yeah, you would never think in India that's the reason why the roof of the temple would be covered in gold because it's the last thing you expect. They're not there to show off, but yet they want that gold because it's how you attract the spiritual vibration for the people walking into the temple and be able to purify the mind and attract enlightenment. So It's a thin line. And I think now in this golden age, we will be able to talk, to enter by the proper gate,
Mhm.
to access the proper and use gold for its proper energy.
Mm.
That's why I call my book Humanity's Blueprint for Awakening, because it's really what I think. The more we are to connect with the gold and meditate with gold, the more faster planet is going to awaken.
Mhm. I feel that. And I'm so happy that we had this
Mhm.
conversation and that people got to hear about the sacred power of gold, not the value power of gold or power in that term, but truly the connectivity to our divinity, which is what we are all about here on the Everyday Mystic. So thank you so much, Zack, for sharing your history, your story, your research, and this beautiful work that you're carrying through in the world. I'll put a link to both your website as well as the book. If there's anything else that you want to share, we'll have that all in the show notes for you all to connect to. Thank you so much, brother, for being here with us and joining
Yeah,
the
my
conversation.
pleasure, Corissa. Thank you. It was great to express myself and share this with you and get to know you a little bit. Yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome.